Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast Strikes Back. My name is George and you're listening to the weekly movie show with the boys Connor.
Hello.
And Benny.
Hi there.
We're not too far off Rise of Skywalker and the Star Wars news is heating up. We've got a few stories there also about a lost script for Rise of Skywalker. That's a funny one. I'm looking forward to talking about that one. Not sure about these guys. I love my Star Wars. We've also got some more casting news for the Batman. They keep coming in week after the week. Godzilla vs. Kong. It's been delayed. We're going to be talking about that. Trailers, question of the week. We've also got Mandalorian episode 3 review. Watchmen episode 6 review. This is going to be a massive episode. We deliver the goods, baby. We deliver the goods. But before all of that, movie nonsense. Let's get into what we've been watching. Connor.
With other movie nonsense.
Tell me.
So for anyone that has been following this in the last couple of episodes, I've been on a mission to educate my fiance on Star Wars. And last time we spoke, we had watched The Attack of the Clones, was the most recent one. And off the back of that, I knew it was going to be a bit of a challenge to get her to like continue on in this universe.
The nadir of the franchise.
Everyone always points to Phantom Menace, but it should be on Attack of the Clones.
Well, realistically, it should be on all three because they are bad films.
You don't like Revenge of the Sith?
I think that if I put on my rose-tinted glasses...
Assuming that you did watch that.
I did.
Like, that's where it was all leading to.
Yeah. Psych, we watched something? No. If I put on my rose-tinted glasses and I kind of think about it in a bit more of a nostalgic view, particularly if I think back to when I first saw it, I definitely enjoyed it.
But it also contains the line, "Anakin, you're breaking my heart."
Yeah,
It
That's drama.
It is better than Attack of the Clones, but that is such a low bar to set that if you take this movie on its own merit, it's still pretty bad. And there are some saving graces in that the writing isn't as clunky, which I think in turn gives the actors a little bit more to work with. Not much, but a little bit more.
It's getting to the points a bit more as well.
Great opening space battle.
Oh, one of the best.
Yeah.
One of the best. And how it goes in the atmosphere. You don't normally see that in Star Wars. You know, a ship moving into the atmosphere, the city.
Although
on Coruscant,
even then it
the
was
ship going
like,
down.
He's flying basically a piece of junk. And I was like, why are we pretending that anything he does, like, what do you mean he's landing? Like it was one of the weirdest things.
I thought the presentation of it was quite effective.
I
guess you can pull it apart, like, you know.
Yeah,
there's no explosions in space. And
but there's
yada, yada,
there's
yada.
other weird things. Like at one point, there was a clone trooper that was shooting, and it was a machine gun noise. It was fucking weird. It sounded like he was shooting bullets, and I was like, "There's a very distinct, like, noise, Star Wars noise, and it's not." With a it was just things like that.
New territory, bro.
But yeah, look, it was less clunky. It was less, I just get awkward.
I think good sequences as well.
Attack of the Clones, yeah,
better sequences.
There were some better sequences. The final lightsaber battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan is still great, and it is made that much better knowing how much of that was them, like the actors actually doing it. It kind of adds to it. And so, but you have to get through quite a bit of movie to get to that really kind of that spot, which seems to, for most people, save the entire film. Like a lot of people, when they talk about, or at least that when I talk to them about Revenge of the Sith, and you're like, oh, that's a bad movie. And they're like, but the lightsaber battle. I'm like, yeah, that's like one thing in what is like over a 2-hour film.
I think it's bookended by the Padme stuff and the Darth Vader stuff on the other end.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it
doesn't even end on a strong note. It's kind of like, oh, right, all right.
No.
Yeah. So it's the
Come on, General Grievous, mate. I will add it to my collection.
I love General Grievous. General Kenobi. I'm obsessed with that character design. I love it.
But again, like it's
and he's got two. He goes, "I'm going to add it to my collection." He takes a lightsaber and he's got 2 other lightsabers in his cloak, and it's like, is that a really collection?
And
it's more like a couple.
That's what you're nitpicking.
That's a couple. Yeah,
Me talking about him, like landing a ship in quotation marks. Oh, that's being a bit nitpicky, but
no, that's
a collection
physics.
should
That's
be more
physics.
than 2.
Yeah, no, it's so criticized. That is in pop culture. That General Grievous moment is so criticized and brought up. Not the fucking landing of the ship. That's just you and your weird mind.
Oh yeah. Look, I mean, all the stuff with Palpatine. That scene, like it's like such an iconic scene of when he's Plagueis scene, so fucking good, and it is so out of place in this film in the sense that it is such a well constructed scene. Because I remember like watching it and be like, fuck, this is good. Like just the visuals, the sound, and just the dialogue that is not embarrassing.
It's such a saving grace note for the prequels, because I think seeing the potential of what they could have been, what that story could have been from just that scene alone, pretty much, because the framework is all there.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, as time goes on and you don't watch them for many years and you just kind of remember the highlights, you're like, oh yeah, I like the bones of that a lot, because it had the potential for it. But it really points out hard how bad it failed most of the time.
Yeah. So look, it's
come on, man,
better than Attack of the Clones, but it is not.
I like
in and of
itself,
itself,
to be fair,
a great movie. And it I mean, I think that it's a shame that a lot of
it's the closest.
I don't want to like put. I was going to say it's a shame that a lot of Star Wars fans seem to have settled for less, but
I could hear you about to be saying like it's a shame that people enjoy these.
Yeah. It was like, if you enjoy the prequels, all the more power to you. But
don't be an asshole about it, please.
Yeah. But like, if I'm going to try and be as objective and like I'm going to try and take the nostalgia out of it, I'm going to try and take like the rose tinted glasses off. If I was just to look at these as movies, they're not good movies. The prequels, I don't think they are.
I will always vouch for Revenge of the Sith, man. I do think 1 and 2 are pretty poor, but I really think Revenge of the Sith picks up the slack.
I really want you to rewatch it because there's the clunky dialogue that plagued that prequel.
It's still there for sure.
It's still there, and I mean, like if you just watch that as itself, it's just it just kind of makes you grit your teeth and you're like, oh,
I don't know. I'd be interested to rewatch it. I've seen it. I haven't seen it. I saw it maybe two years ago or something, and I really, really enjoyed it. But it's not up to the standard of some of the original trilogies.
I loved Attack of the Clones when I was a kid, so I don't know if I was especially dumb as a child.
I liked all 3 of them when I was a kid.
But yeah, like I never, even watching them more recently, I never really get to the point where I'm angry at them because it is just so like, it's kind of comfortable.
I can't ever get to the end of the Geonosis battle.
Yeah.
I honestly, I can't remember watching Attack of the Clones the whole way through.
You mean all the Jedi in the Colosseum?
It's just so vacant to me, and
love it.
I just kind of, it's just things, It's just things moving on a screen. I don't have any emotional connection to that Geonosis battle.
Mm.
So
and Taya, what did she think?
I kept saying it's going to get better. And she kept looking at me as though, like, you have disappointed me.
Right.
Why are you doing this to her?
I'm just, like, I'm a bit of a completionist in that. And, like, I want to share this with her. Like,
I need to complete her.
Yeah. No, it's just like,
fulfill your training.
For me.
Arise.
The one they call Taya.
Like, for me, it's like, it's if you're, to understand Star Wars, you have to understand, like, not only the heights of what Star Wars can be, but also where it's gone wrong.
You got to experience it the full 360.
Like, I feel like that's the journey that you go on as a Star Wars fan. And I think like she probably doesn't even enjoy it at all. She's like, okay, like patting me on the head. Well, watch your silly like fantasy films.
You're like, so what do you think of them? She's like, just fucking leave me alone. I'll watch the movies. All right.
What more do you want from me? She literally. So we went on to watch Force Awakens, and she was like, okay, good. Well, we can watch this new one that's coming out. I was like, oh no, there's like another 3 full films. Until that point, she goes, all right, well, we're not watching fucking Solo and Rogue One.
Sure.
And I was like, yep, nope, fair. I think I've put you through enough.
Not that such a thing would ever happen, but if you do get cold feet for the wedding, just show her the Clone Wars animated movie and you're scot-free.
Yeah.
We are done!
Yeah. But yeah, so we did watch Force Awakens, which she thought she was far more on board with.
Okay.
Rathtars, baby.
Which, I mean... but again, not nearly as bad as anything in the prequels. And so... Like, yeah, there's a little bit of... you can tell that J.J. Abrams is doing a little bit of the mystery box. A little bit. A lot of the mystery box.
No, you knew Palpatine was coming back, bro.
Yeah, that's how he planned it all along.
He said it this week.
He... Visually, really, really good film. I still really enjoy Force Awakens. I think that it had a job to do, and it did it really well. I really enjoyed it. Ty really enjoyed it.
An opinion on that film has kind of petered out, I feel. I think it sort of went from people thought it was maybe a 9 or
We're back,
8 out
baby.
of 10
Yeah.
to maybe a 6 or a 7 out of 10. I don't know if
I think Last Jedi stole all the air in the room. I don't think anyone's ever going to talk about Force Awakens again after that.
So yeah, next on our list is...
But you enjoyed Force Awakens. It was a good time.
Yeah. I've revisited that film quite a few times, and in general, I really enjoy that film. I think that it's like I said, it had a remit. Like there was a job to do. We're going to reintroduce people to Star Wars. You know, we're going to kind of retell the first story, and it is, you know, beat for beat, A New Hope. But you know, I think that's fine as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think it's about a smart strategy.
Yeah.
Benny, have you watched anything else, Connor?
No. I have, but it's yeah. Let's keep moving.
Benjamin.
Well, I'll start out with one that Connor and I both watched, which we won't talk about, but we've seen Knives Out, the new Rian Johnson film. I'm going to be presumptuous here, and I'm just going to say that we both agree that you should go out and watch this movie.
As soon as you can.
Fuck yeah. All right, cool. So we can move on from that. Sorry, George. I've been keeping up with Rick and Morty. Anyone else?
No.
Episode 3 we're up to now. I'm loving this season so much. I feel like with season 3, while I definitely enjoyed it and liked it probably more on subsequent viewings, it did feel like you'd kind of gone over that precipice, you know, where a show becomes really popular and then you're not sure even if you think it's as good anymore because everyone's saying it's not as good anymore.
Yeah.
And it's hard to even... Anyway, this season, I feel like the discourse around that show has died down so much that I'm just watching it like it was season 1 again, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yep. I watched a couple of cool movies last night on... one of them was a Netflix one, a weird little... I'm just going to say thriller called Coherence, about a bunch of friends at a dinner party while a meteor is passing close over Earth, and weird stuff starts to happen. It's just a complete kind of mystery film. To say any more about it would be a complete disservice. My only criticism, I think, of the whole thing was that some weird stuff starts happening and everyone kind of is on board with it a lot quicker than I think people would generally be. Like they're kind of like, okay, this is what's happening. This is the premise of the movie.
Right.
And we got to figure out how to go with it from here. Otherwise, so interesting, kind of sci-fi, worth a look.
Okay.
And I'd never even heard about it before I saw it on someone's list the other day. I also watched a couple of weeks ago and wasn't on the show, so I didn't have a chance to talk about I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House.
Oh.
A Netflix film that I'm sure everyone has scrolled past at one point or other, that is from the director of one of my absolute favorites from the past few years, The Black Coat's Daughter. It's just a really simple...
It's the one in Tasmania, isn't it?
No,
that's... Sorry. Never mind. Ignore me.
The Huntsman. It's a really simple little kind of ghost story set in a house. There's like 2 or 3 characters in it. And it's possibly one of the most love it or hate it movies I've ever watched. I went, straight online to the reviews and the comments after I'd watched it because it really got under my skin in an interesting way. And I wasn't even sure how to feel about it. And people were just completely divided between that was amazing and that was the biggest waste of my time ever. And I couldn't stop thinking about it since then, which, that's where those good movies come from, I think.
Sure.
So I've definitely fallen into the loved it camp.
It's a recommend?
I don't even know, because I think a lot of people will come back at me and be like, yeah, that was a waste of time.
What would you say for me?
I'd say definitely give it a go.
Okay.
Because for me, it scared me in a way that doesn't happen often anymore.
Nice.
I just found it very creepy.
Cool.
And it was just one of those movies that kind of refuses to let the tension release. So the whole time I was just there, and I think I was home alone that night, just in the dark, like, no, I'm scared. So I really enjoyed that film.
Interesting.
And last night I also checked out one I've been meaning to for a while, The Hole in the Ground, Irish horror film from much earlier in the year, about a mother and a young son who move off to the kind of wilderness, and there's just a giant hole kind of around their place. And then shortly thereafter, the son starts behaving very off, and she suspects it's not actually her child. It reminded me a lot of another Irish movie I watched a while ago, a horror one that I actually kind of enjoyed a bit more, I think. But to say what it was would completely spoil this film. So I'll just say I think it was very solid. Maybe not to everyone's tastes, though.
First feature, right?
I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I saw a bit of press on that. Looked like an interesting film.
It is.
I got a little bit of use of my Disney Plus account.
Nice.
Other than the
Mando.
good old Mandalorian. I watched Coco.
Finally.
I've been meaning to watch for a number of years. And quite a weird movie for Pixar.
Weird in
I
what way?
turned around to Ash about halfway through the film and I was like, what's going on? Like, where are we heading with this? And then almost immediately after that, it goes into this really interesting third act that I was not expecting and was quite impressed by, and I thought it was pretty solid writing for a kids movie. Sort of playing on what your expectations were for certain characters. I mean, once it's done, you're kind of like, oh yeah, that the shoe fits. But it took me by surprise to a certain degree, and I liked where it went. And it was an odd movie overall, and enjoyable. I don't think it's the best Pixar movie. It looks great, really stunning. Some of the designs of the creatures, like that big
Panther thing.
Yeah, I didn't quite love that.
Oh, really?
And I'm really over this whole, what's the one coming up with Tom Holland and Chris Pratt? Onwards. You know, this whole like, and in this one, it's like the city where all the dead live, the world where all the trolls and fantastical creatures live, and they got fridges, and they've got.
That's always been their thing, though. Toys have a secret life, bugs have a secret life, cars have a secret life.
Imagine a movie having a premise.
I get what you're saying.
Whatever, or like this is, imagine if this lived in a real society.
The secret world of yada yada.
Yeah, I'm a little bit sick of that, and it doesn't really resonate with me. I loved the idea of the passing on from that world. I thought that was a really, really strong concept, and I thought it executed very well.
So you're over the concept of that kind of, here's a gimmicky world.
Imagine if giraffes ruled the world. And
that sounds awesome. That was Zootopia.
Like Ben said, that's pretty much the premise of any Pixar film. So my question is, do you think that they just didn't imagine where like Pixies?
Their worst movie for me. But.
Well, yeah, that's a poor example. But the reason I'm asking is to say, do you think they just didn't execute it as well in this film, or are you like genuinely just hitting the fatigue of that in general?
I think it could be a bit of both. I don't think it was like, I wasn't like, these things I'm not against. If it's done well, I'm gonna love it. If Onward is done well, I'm gonna love it.
Yeah.
I just think like it needs to be really, really like what? Okay, put it this way: Wreck-It Ralph 2, how they did all the stuff in the internet. I thought some of that was really, really fun and really well done. So credit where credit's due. But at some point, I'm kind of like, how many of these can we do? And is this isn't? I lose, as I said. Some of this just doesn't resonate with me.
Yep.
But Coco, it was strong. And then another thing I watched was Empire of Dreams, which is on the Star Wars channel there. It's like a retrospect on the original trilogy. And I've watched it a few times over the years. It's just a really fantastic doco. If you're just number one into filmmaking, number two into Star Wars, it's really great. It's there on Disney Plus. And I was kind of like, hey, I'm getting a little bit of use out of this platform, not just Mandalorian.
Do you still feel that it is worth $8 a month?
I will be probably calling it once Mandalorian's all done.
Yeah.
Until the next TV show comes, because I just don't know if it's great to have the archival, the archives on Disney Plus is so fantastic, but it's quite incredible how much streaming is geared towards fresh new content.
Mm.
And that's really going to be the struggle that they have in the Q3, Q4, and
well, I was also expecting for things
year.
like National Geographic. I just kind of like personally expected there to be so much more content, and it is very light on content. And so I think
like Jeff Goldblum or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, which is their like show, but I thought their back like catalog, their archive would be massive, and I love National Geographic little documentaries. Archaeology, like I get lost in those kinds of
Nothing
things.
really
So
tickled your fancy in there.
I watched the one about Alexander's tomb, and then there's a couple of other ones that I might like delve into, but ultimately there's like 3 or 4 that I might check out, and that's it. And I'm seeing myself getting very over Disney Plus very soon,
Me too.
just because I don't see there to be enough original content / enough content that's really gonna like.
They have to get their skates on. They have to be doing, once Mandalorian wraps up, there's the next Marvel show within 3 weeks of that or 2 weeks of that.
But I mean, it also irks me to like pay $8 a month just for one TV show.
I was thinking about it. I was like, on iTunes, an episode of a show is what, like $2?
$3, yeah.
And I was like, hey, that's probably kind of what I'm paying for this, and I'm happy to pay for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's consistently kind of Mandalorian level stuff that I want to see, like all these MCU shows, that's pretty justified to me. But yeah, I completely agree with you guys. I've been watching a bit of Simpsons, but I can see myself ditching this pretty soon.
Damn. I thought everything was going to be solved once Disney Plus. Like, I thought my life was going to come together. Put the
Marketing, man.
deposit on the house.
Yeah.
Get the $250,000 paycheck.
I think. Look, honestly, I think if they ramp it up, if they bring back or if they dump a little bit more archived stuff in there, and they start up the machine on.
I don't think archive. There's so much archival shit there. I think they really need to get moving on regular content, movies.
But it's just
shows.
like, I mean, even from a standpoint of like when I'm scrolling through, it's just so obvious that there's so much more on things like Netflix and Amazon and even Stan. Like, I mean, there's just so much more content, and not even just original content, but like archived old movies. And I'm like, I feel like I have more options with things like Netflix.
Completely.
Which makes sense. I mean, they're sourcing from a bunch of different areas, which is kind of, I guess, the danger that you run in having a single distribution line.
Talking about Netflix, let's move on to a bit of Star Wars news.
Speaking of Netflix,
Huh?
yeah.
King of the
You mean
segue.
Disney.
Huh?
Do you mean Disney?
You like that?
Yeah. Alrighty. First up, we have a new clip, some images, and some TV spots for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I think the first big takeaway here is a bunch of new looks at the Knights of Ren, including some footage. What are you thinking of them, Georgie?
Man.
Looks like a bunch of Kylo Rens.
I really do like the Knights of Ren. That is just a great shot, and I also love the shot in the TV spot that got released where you've got the Knights of Ren up on that mountainous thing, mountainous rocky structure, and the helicopter shot around them. That was just killer.
It makes me increasingly upset that they didn't have that in
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. I think that is like, I mean, there's a couple of criticisms that I will always agree with when people are talking about The Last Jedi. Overall, I do think it's a good film, but ignoring the Knights of Ren completely for me is still
Wasted opportunity.
Is such a wasted opportunity, and they're going to bring it in the third film now, that's cool, but you don't
Where the
have
fuck were
time.
they?
Yeah, you don't have the time to really develop them as a. I didn't need much in The Last Jedi either. Maybe even a little bit more of a mention, like a quick scene, just something to kind of hint that they're still there, build up the menacing nature of them. Or
Even just have them in the throne room instead of those guards.
Then they'd all be dead.
they'd be dead. Yeah.
I'd
there's a couple of them that get out or something.
I'm
Who
playing
knows?
devil's advocate here, which I hate to do. I actually love it, but my
Such a contrarian.
I find it very contingent on how this next film goes, because what I was about to say is they've got a big job to actually justify these guys' place in the series in this one movie. And I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's like, what is the point of them other than being a weird little
Really cool looking.
background thing in the first one?
Yeah, the helmet's coming back for Kylo. We've got, we've got Palpatine coming in. JJ saying it was all part of the plan. The one thing I'll say about The Last Jedi, and I really do love that film, and I think as its own Star Wars film, it's really, really fantastic. But I think within the mechanism of this trilogy, it's going to be really interesting to see how this thing all winds up, because the ending doesn't feel like it leaves it on a cliffhanger, propelling it into the next film. You missed the opportunity of Knights of Ren. Finn kind of doesn't become, Finn was, I think I loved Finn a lot more after The Force Awakens than
Oh, a lot more,
The
yeah.
Last Jedi. Last Jedi, I was like, he's kind of squandered there. He had his moment where he almost died at the end, and
Probably should have.
Probably should have, man. Probably should have. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing winds up. What did you guys think of the clip itself? About a 30-second clip,
Yeah.
teasing the start of a bit of an action sequence on the speeder bikes.
I thought
Gave
that
me-
was from Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, really? See,
That's a
I
good thing.
got different
That's a
vibes.
It's a
from
good
it.
thing, yeah.
I got different vibes. I went into like some kind of Vietnam flashback of The Hobbit. And I don't know why this is. This might just be because it's so like shockingly out of context or something like that. But I just got
Hobbit.
the sense of, when they used to do those, when they were doing those, there's a scene in every one of those Hobbit films where it's like a roller coaster. It's like it was almost made like
Vividly.
it was almost designed to be a ride at a theme park later on.
Yeah, like the barrel ride.
The barrel ride or
second one.
The
when they're
Goblin
running away from the
City.
goblins in the first one, and I can't remember what one is the third.
I thought this looked great, though. Like,
This doesn't look like that. Did it?
I don't know why. I just got that sense of like,
It definitely feels very JJ in terms of like the sort of quippy dialogue. They fly now. They fly now.
it's working.
Yeah.
It's working.
But this has got me excited, man. Like, I can't help myself, but
It's
I'm
Star Wars.
really
You're gonna be like-
keen to see how this thing wraps up. We've got a runtime as well for this film. It's reportedly shorter than people were anticipating. People were saying it's going to be longer than The Last Jedi. It's being about 5 to 10 minutes shorter. So Last Jedi will continue to be the longest Star Wars film.
the longest and best Star Wars film. 2 facts.
2 facts.
2 facts that no one would
And
ever
just
no
dispute.
facts.
they can't be disputed. Yeah.
So on to the next thing. J.J. Abrams has just revealed in an interview that a genuine script for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker wound up on eBay after one of the cast members left it under their pillow, I believe, and it got taken by a cleaner or something. Wound up in someone else's hands and on eBay. And a Disney employee managed to get it off there before someone
Well,
bought
evidently
it.
they patrol those like hawks, man. They've got a
They
whole
would.
team.
Yeah.
What? Okay, who left it under the pillow?
I would say Harrison Ford if he was still in these movies, but
I reckon he wouldn't have even left it under a pillow. He would have given it to someone and be like, "Leak this. let's tank
Get
this
it out there.
franchise once and for
Already
all."
made my bucks.
yeah.
Yeah, he's coming back for a Force Ghost. Force Ghost Ford.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Is he really?
Hmm.
No, he's not. Yeah, yeah. I
There
was
will
like,
be. I
That's not how the Force works.
Hey,
Also, I think like good luck getting him on a Star Wars set.
Hayden Christensen is going to be coming back in this movie.
I'm all about that.
We're going to see some Force Ghosts for shiz.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course we are.
Just everyone.
So
Point is, we kind of already knew this. There's definite real spoilers out there for this movie, definite plot synopses that are completely accurate. I've already heard about a lot of leaks that people are saying are real that
Yeah, me too.
I've not pursued whatsoever. So if you don't want this movie spoiled, be careful out there.
It's wild. There's a lot of stuff out there.
Have you looked at any stuff?
You're the kind of person that
Voraciously.
wouldn't be able to help themselves. You just want to like.
You know what? Everything out, like Knives Out, for example, I haven't watched a single trailer. You know, I want to go in clean. With Star Wars, I'm like,
Could have known.
can I brace myself a little bit for this really, really hard landing?
All right. Well,
Not a ton. It's not like I'm trolling the things. It's just like you trace a little rabbit hole here and there.
I think it's cool that you have kind of a healthy relationship with spoilers. Some people are very touchy about those things now, and you can still like a movie. You can like a movie if you've even seen it before and know everything that happens.
It's all
in
in
it.
the execution as well.
Absolutely. Final bit of Star Wars news, I promise. The Hollywood Reporter has a quote here. Sources say Kathleen Kennedy, has a film on deck for 2022, but not the one being developed by The Last Jedi filmmaker Rian Johnson. No announcement is planned until January.
So they're waiting to see how this goes down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a J.J. Abrams movie now that this is the highest grossing film of all time. So what do you guys think this movie is? They're sticking to it, even after
It's
all
not
the ones
Feige
that
one.
cancel
It's
it.
confirmed. It's not the Feige one.
Honestly, I cannot keep track anymore
Yeah.
because it has gotten to the point where
It's like,
they
what isn't cancelled
What
anymore?
about that episode we did? I think it was 2018, just after Solo came out, and we was like, "This is coming out. There's Boba Fett. There's this. There's that."
of which none of us were like particularly excited. We were very doom and gloom about.
I think we were in that episode.
the level of.
So we got our way.
I'd like to go listen back to that one actually.
But I mean, like they didn't stop there. Like there was a Rian Johnson trilogy. There was a
Benioff and Weiss.
Benioff and Weiss trilogy. There was a
Obi-Wan TV series.
that movie. There's a movie at one point.
I think that
was
might have been
TV
at the time a
series.
movie, the Obi-Wan movie.
Okay, was
There's
it?
There was like a writer
Boba
attached.
Fett like movie. Like there's just been so much that has been thrown at the wall, and you know, I'm glad that they're taking a little bit more of a reserved approach to this, but it still feels as if they're like just it has gone from a rabid dog to a rabid dog on a leash. And you can just like it is seconds away from just spraying us with just like this litany of content
That's so
that no one asked
invasive.
for.
I don't know how rabid dogs work, evidently. You thinking of skunks?
Yeah.
The Star Wars franchise is a
like
rabid skunk.
phasing in and out of the metaphor very like fluidly. But like I mean I feel like there's that tension where like they're like, oh, we've learned our lesson. We're not gonna like overcommit and just throw as much content at you as possible. But you could just tell they are one bad decision away from just throwing everything at
Well,
fans.
yeah, like Mandalorian's going really well. If Rise of Skywalker does really well, then
we
it's
are
just be
gonna
like,
get-
we're doing all those things again.
Yeah, and
Solo 2
yeah.
on the way.
Oh, right. You have not learned a thing.
Hopefully, this is 3 years away though, like December 2022, and so we got a bit of time in the cinematic world to let things settle, or actually really want a Star Wars movie to head to the cinema.
I reckon even wait until 2023.
2026,
2028.
Yeah, look, I think that
2048.
the gap in between is what makes Star like
All right.
I don't know. I just like the idea of there being some time to just take a breath.
I don't know if we are going to be together before The Rise of Skywalker comes out. So we need to do a steak dinner on how much that's going to make.
Jesus.
Okay, are we doing your weird?
That might be question of the week. That's going to be question of the week later on.
Oh, no.
I'm going to post
Okay.
that to you guys.
I'm gonna do some
to start,
research.
start thinking.
All right. Next up, it's been a while since we've been able to jump over the pond from old mate Star Wars to Star Trek, but we've finally got some Star Trek news again. Noah Hawley will write and direct Star Trek 4. So this will be in the Kelvin universe, the Chris Pine movies, the Star Trek 09 series, which was looking very uncertain over the past couple of years since Star Trek Beyond did not do very well despite being pretty well received.
Great film.
And then we had a lot of stories about them wanting to get Chris Hemsworth back in the franchise because, for anyone who doesn't remember, he played Captain Kirk's dad in the very opening scene of Star Trek 09 before he was a star, and they killed him off straight away. And they wanted to do some weird time travel story with him and Chris Pine. It sounded like a movie written by committee. It sounded like a terrible idea, and they could never agree upon the script or the paychecks for these big actors, so it all kind of fell apart. And then more recently, they had a female director whose name I can't remember signed on for this. That's evidently been canned. And now we have Noah Hawley, who recently had the movie Lucy in the Sky, which was quite poorly received critically and a big bomb, I believe. But people mostly would know him from, I assume, except you guys, unfortunately, because I can't get you to do this. Watch Legion and Fargo. Legion.
I've watched Fargo.
Yeah. Have you seen much of Fargo?
It's first season, first two seasons.
Okay, cool.
Billy Bob's
first season.
Yeah. I've seen season 1, I believe. Yeah, freaking awesome.
Yeah,
amazing.
I love Fargo. Each season has been really different and interesting in their own ways. I think he's a great filmmaker.
Is this any kind of commentary on what's going on with the Tarantino?
No, I don't think this has any bearing on that.
No, all the sources have been very clear to say that this isn't related to that at all.
Okay.
So no, that's still in limbo.
As probably, I don't know. I really enjoyed the past 3 films. I'm not necessarily really
Even number 2.
I haven't watched that one since that midnight screening.
I will say, I didn't mind. I'm not as much of a hater as a lot of people.
Yeah, I'd be interested to rewatch that one actually, but I just don't know if I want to. Do you guys want to see the crew back together? Because I love the first one. I love the third one. I can very conclusively say that. Do I necessarily want to see a Star Trek 4? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, look, I think that there's nothing wrong with the crew or the actors or anything like that. I'm
something very wrong with one of them.
Ben. I don't know why that is where I draw the line back. Ben.
It is too soon. Rest in peace, Anton Yelchin. One of the most tragic losses to film in my lifetime, certainly. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into a little
eulogy.
But I've seen a bunch of good, really little movies that he kind of starred in and had a creative role in. And there was this one directed by William H. Macy, starring Billy Crudup and him, about a music that he did some actual real performing in. And he was such a talent. So sad. Anyway, that's kind of leading into why I wouldn't necessarily want to see another one of these.
Oh, because he's not. Yeah, that's fair enough. Look, there's nothing that I could pinpoint as to why I might not want to see a 4th one, but I don't really feel like the compelling need to see one. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I love 3. I thought that was an absolute series high, and I don't think you can say that about many third films. And yeah, even I'm like, I think that movie kind of capped it off nicely.
Me too. Went back to more of that Star Trek vibe. It was much more episodic and felt like the original TV show. It's been the original the reboot was 2009. It's 2019 now. This movie will come out in 2022. I just feel as though your time is better invested in revamping this and like as if you can't make a great Star Trek movie. I'm sorry, it can be done. It can be done.
Yeah, all that being said, getting a great TV guy like Noah Hawley and ditching that Chris Hemsworth plot, very encouraging news to me.
I agree with that.
So that's cool.
I definitely agree with that. We'll see.
Next up, more casting for Matt Reeves The Batman. John Turturro has been cast as mob boss Carmine Falcone, which may sound like not a huge bit of news, but I think that's pretty much the final nail in the coffin that they are definitely making a Long Halloween adaptation with this film, which I believe to be great news. For anyone who doesn't know, that's a Jeff Loeb comic set kind of early in Batman's career. I think it takes place in the year 1 continuity. I'm not entirely sure. It's set up over a year. It's a really kind of sprawling story about a serial killer called Holiday, who once a month kills someone on a holiday, and Batman's trying to solve this case. And it ropes in the origin story, I believe, for Two-Face as well, and also just deals with a lot of Batman's rogues gallery and how he's kind of working all of Gotham to kind of solve this case. And it's really fascinating. And I think a good pick. I like the way that they kind of cherry pick a lot of these classic comic book storylines and take out the interesting elements and kind of loosely put them on film. And I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, they did that very successfully with Civil War.
Yeah, and with Batman Begins.
Yeah,
very
that was year
famously, 1. Yeah. Who's Tom Wilkinson actually played this character in that film as well. Very different casting.
I think that definitely fits the bill of everything we've been hearing, the Rogues Gallery, the more detective-style Batman that we're going to get. So that seems to fit perfectly, and it's really strong cast. I mean, John Turturro, he's incredible.
Transformers 1, Transformers 2.
When he gets pissed
he's in
on.
Ridiculous 6.
Transformers 3, I think. Ridiculous 6.
Turturro, baby.
Miller's Crossing, Coen Brothers film. Yeah, he's absolutely Barton Fink.
And I mean,
brother.
The role I love him in is the Lebowski role. You know, that's probably his most
The Jesus.
well-known. You know, he's just like I'm just very, very confident in this project. We talking about this. I don't think Benny was here when we were last talking about this, and basically the conclusion. I think you asked me like, why are you so confident in this? And I sort of just go, Matt Reeves.
Yeah,
Bat Reeves.
Yeah, I've been looking through a lot of obviously around this time of year, a lot of best of the year, best of the decade lists, and every time I see someone mention his Planet of the Apes movies, I'm like, God damn, they're fucking achievements. They are so good.
Technically and storytelling wise.
Yeah. That second one blew me away when that came out.
That's the best. That's the highlight of that little trilogy.
So yeah, to see him making something like this, I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm in, baby. We know where you're at, Connor.
I know. I don't want to say it again.
Yeah.
This does nothing to like change my mind.
Yeah.
Something you've never said before.
I know, right?
I don't want to say it again.
But you know what will change my mind is if I like when I see it, because that's one of the things that I love about film in general is that you can not be on board with a concept, you can not be on board with the director or the cast or anything like that, and you can sit down in a cinema and it can still blow you away. You know, things can come together, whether it's by design or accident or and just, you know, provide you with an experience that is really fantastic. So
the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
All right. In further DC news, Henry Cavill has spoken up on Superman for the first time in quite a while. Here is his quote: "I've not given up on the role. There's a lot I have to give for Superman yet. A lot of storytelling to do. A lot of real, true depths to the honesty of the character I want to get into. I want to something the comic books." Sorry, missing a part there. That's important to me. There's a lot of justice to be done for Superman. The status is you'll see. There's
a lot of justice to be done for Superman. You're right, there is.
I like that he acknowledged that because his run as Superman has been, it goes from mixed to horrendous. It's really, he's not had a good go of it. And I feel sorry for him getting cast in such an iconic role and having been done so poorly.
Brandon Routh.
Well, at least he was one and done. And he's coming back to the role this year for Crisis on Infinite Earths.
He is.
And everyone's so on board with that now because he didn't run the character into the ground over several movies.
It takes 15 years for everyone to get on board.
Yeah.
You just got to tough it out.
That the failure of Superman in this existing universe, or Cavill's Superman, has to do with Cavill or the writing or the directing or
everything?
It's firmly on Cavill. Like, put everything on that guy.
100%.
Like, come down like a ton of bricks.
Zack Snyder's going to come out one of these days and say Justice League was all his fault.
Yeah,
he was in 20 minutes of the movie.
In general, there's some roles that even if there's bad scripts, you can tell that some actors bring a natural charisma to a role, or were born to play that role. And
I've always liked him for the role.
Yeah,
in theory, not as much on screen. I don't think he can convey all of the complexity of the character. He does certain aspects of it very well. But again, he's not really been given the material to shine with, unfortunately. Yeah. And I think like him in BVS is awful. He's just like a glowering asshole for no good reason.
Yeah, he hasn't been given the opportunity to flourish in the role. And I think aesthetically, he has the look.
Yes, very much so.
Those little moments and the disconnect he has with humanity, which is so part of Superman, he just doesn't have that emotional weight or that edge to him that he needs. So, yeah, I think that in theory, idea you were conveying is pretty much where I'm at.
Cool.
Well, let's see if he ever comes back.
And finally, Godzilla versus King Kong has been pushed back to late 2020. This is a movie we haven't talked about in a while. This is a movie the studio hasn't talked about in a while because Godzilla King of the Monsters was not the hit they were hoping for, as they're starting this fledgling shared universe.
Yeah. Oddly enough, though, that movie, almost more so than any other film this year, has been one that has haunted me. And it shouldn't have. Like, there's no good reason for it.
Good haunting? Or?
No, like 4 weeks after I watched that film, It was all I could think of.
You got to watch more movies, man.
What about?
But,
At least you didn't go back for it, man. The
No, I
second
didn't.
viewing,
I didn't.
I went to the
For it
toilet
twice.
for 20 minutes. I walked around. I got a Pepsi. Like talked to some old dude reading the paper.
That's I don't know what it was about this film. I think
You
a
were
lot
that
of
old
it,
dude reading the paper.
a lot of it had to do with the soundtrack. I really dug the soundtrack on that film.
Yes, yeah, I will give it that.
And a good soundtrack for me.
And some good sequences. Some
Yeah.
good sequences.
A lot of it was breathtakingly gorgeous.
But what I was saying is like a movie can like be made or broken by a soundtrack for me. Like when I think about something like Arrival, one of the main things that like I harken back to is the soundtrack.
The rest of the movie is garbage.
Do we have
Absolutely terrible, isn't it?
Do we have any
But,
idea of why this release date has been pushed back? 'Cause
I haven't seen anything, and I don't know what they could be wanting to do. Like, the only thing could be more distance from the not very successful movie that preceded it.
And they're going up against the Eternals. They've moved it to November. I think November 20th, this film will come out, and Eternals comes out November 6th.
They
So,
must have had a damn good reason then to go head to head with Marvel.
That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough.
I mean, maybe they've accepted that it's not going to happen, and they're just like dumping it.
Damn. Must be so sad.
Do
eh?
you,
When
do you want to see this film? Like, is this something that would interest you?
Look, I enjoyed Kong Skull Island quite a bit. I didn't like Godzilla 2014 very much at all, but I liked King of the Monsters quite a lot. Not clamoring for more. I'll definitely watch it. But I just think this franchise is DOA. Like, I don't think it's ever going to take off. It has zero
It's
chance.
certainly not in the way that they want it to.
Yeah, which is the way they need it to, because it's a $100 billion movie. The scale of what they're making, it's so huge. Like, they're not making
They're
man
making
in a rubber
movies
suit
that should be grossing 600 million
that
plus.
that need to
minimum.
be to justify their existence. Unfortunately, yeah, it's good on them for trying, I guess.
Yeah.
What's that time?
It's trailer time.
Oh, sorry.
Reversal.
Sorry.
It's all right, I forgot.
Psych.
Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
My one job.
All right. Well, let's. We've got a new trailer for The Irishman, which is interesting because Irishman debuted in cinemas, some cinemas. 3 weeks ago?
This is the lead up to the home release, the Netflix
The
release.
Netflix release,
which is the way I assume most people will be seeing it.
Yeah.
By far the strongest trailer.
Very different trailer, yeah.
By
very different trailer.
far the strongest.
Oh my goodness.
So I saw the movie weeks ago, and I watched this trailer. I'm like, this looks great.
Yeah.
The
this
tension's ratcheting up
Yeah.
in this one.
this trailer, more than anything that I have seen, makes me actually want to go out and see it. Before I was like 3.5 hour movie. Yeah, I'll definitely like wait for Netflix and maybe see it at some point this year. But
Do you think that's because maybe the person cutting the trailer has an opportunity to watch the film. Maybe they have more notes on, or the people providing the clips to the trailer editor have more notes on what's resonating with audiences, so they want to gear it in that
I
way.
think that's a big part of it, because this movie is much more representative of what I found captivating about the movie.
I mean, this trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It's definitely more true to the original material.
Yeah.
I've been waiting to talk about this movie for weeks, waiting for you guys to actually watch it so we could review it. But if I may take a moment to actually give some thoughts on it, I thought it was very much what I expected for many hours of its many-hour runtime, and the tail end of it, by the time it had concluded, had really blown me away, which I think is really the best way to design a movie.
Yeah.
Is to have the ending leaving people kind of rethinking the entire thing.
You would think so, right?
Yeah,
Doesn't often happen.
So I thought it was great, and I thought the de-aging was the best I've ever seen.
Pieces of my beard.
Oh God.
Sorry, I just realized how many. Go on. Never mind.
Connor's having a
Sorry.
moment.
Interesting.
I'm
He's
having
having a breakdown.
Very interesting.
There's no way you can make 2 or 3.5 hour movie, buddy.
I have the attention span of a fucking gnat. Like, it's just not happening.
Yeah, so I really want to discuss the de-aging with you guys once you've seen it, because I thought, after all the talk through the trailers and how distracting it looked, I thought it was almost flawless.
It
And
looks way better in this.
not an
Yeah,
issue,
I don't know
not an
what-
issue in the movie itself at all.
Maybe I don't know where they specifically for the other trailers, where they just specifically had screen grabs from when it was
or they
looking
weren't
wonky
finished or something.
Yeah, something like that. But like in this trailer, I was like, oh, that looks legit. Like
Yeah,
it looks
until
way
you
better.
mentioned that, I totally forgot there was de-aging in
Yeah,
this.
in the actual film, it is so not distracting, which is ridiculous because like 90% of the movie has aging or de-aging in it. There's like one or two shots of Joe Pesci where you get a little bit of that,
Ooh.
like a little rubbery, but nothing anywhere near like even
It Chapter
more
2.
recent stuff like It Chapter 2 or Kurt Russell in Guardians 2. Shockingly well done. But anyway, I highly recommend that movie.
Well, we'll definitely, I'm sure it'll turn up in one of our top 10s of the year. So we'll definitely be talking about that when the list comes through.
Yeah, definitely. All right, moving on. We have another Cats trailer.
This was suggested. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago we said, was it last week?
Last
It was
week, yeah.
last week when we had no trailers, and our boy or girl, L. Lee on
I'm going to take a
YouTube,
wild guess and say that's not a guy.
or you suggested we should
maybe
have
it is, I don't
reviewed
know.
the Cats trailer, and we're reviewing it now. So yeah, guys, we love hearing from you. So if we missed something from a previous episode and you want us to review it or whatever, hit us up with suggestions. We love hearing from you guys.
Can I actually say something about this trailer?
No.
It's
Next trailer.
How
Yeah.
terrifying it is.
No, I don't actually mind it. I've just gotten to this point where like I know that
How can
Cats
you be
is-
so zen, man?
Cats is never going to be the movie that I go and see for any number of reasons. And it's still a bit freaky watching it, but I've just gotten to that point where I'm like,
This doesn't have any bearing on
it-
my life.
It has so little bearing on my life.
I think
Dude, can you teach me this like newfound outlook on life?
honestly, as soon as I
This made
figure
me
it
so
out,
angry.
like it just, I mean, it's got good actors. It's a musical.
It's got Jason Derulo.
And Jason Derulo.
Hey, I haven't seen him act. I don't know.
Jason Derulo. I fucking love that guy. Where did he go?
Are you some kind of musician?
Became a cat.
Well, thank you.
But it just the whole premise of it looks a bit freaky, but apart from that,
Yeah,
it's
so
just
if
so
I
little
can
consequence.
if I can jump off there in the complete opposite direction than George is going to go, I am really, I don't know. I think this movie looks so balls to the wall insane that I can't help but respect him for it. And I think the effects on the cats I like.
Improving.
I think it looks good. I think it always looked good.
I can't say that.
I've never been bothered by it.
Even Ian McKellen turning around there at the end.
Yeah.
Cat Ian McKellen.
Yeah,
Catsdale?
I'm not wearing my glasses right now, but yeah,
Well, there you go.
I'm not. I've.
So they're all just
just like
basically
blobs.
cats to you. Basically, the trailer that you watched was just cats.
It
with,
is.
like,
It is real cats, isn't it?
walking around. Yeah.
What?
Little kittens.
No, my vision's
This
not,
looks
my,
great.
my vision's not that bad. I think it's a well executed effect. Like a lot of it looks a little too ambitious in terms of a lot of elements going on with backgrounds and stuff that's maybe not working entirely. And Cats, which I've never seen on the stage, is a renowned kind of punching bag. Is well known for being. Even musical fans think it's terrible. I'm just passing on what I see, the general consensus. I don't know if I actually ever will watch this or give it a go. I never even saw his last one, Les Mis.
You never saw Les Mis?
No,
Me neither.
you're definitely not the target for it. But yeah, I don't know. I wish there was a little more support for a movie going this confidently into a very strange place because for whatever it is, it does not look generic.
It does not look generic, but there's something very unsettling about the design they've gone for. I think.
And that's something I've not felt at all, but it's definitely the main thing people are
I
taking
just
away.
don't think they've quite ironed that out. So I think like maybe with X amount of time more, you can refine that and get that to a better place. Emily, they're spending $300 million on this movie.
Wow.
And Force
That
Awakens
is
cost
not going to make its money back.
And Force Awakens cost $200 million. And that's Disney money we're talking. So like a part of me has that also rattling around in the back of my head, that $300 million mark, because I'm like, was it worth it? Because I'm not seeing it right
Who
now.
pitched that? Who was able to convince someone to commit $300 million to this?
and
In
then
all fairness, has Cats like ever been off Broadway? Like it is one of the longest running,
how
most
much-
successful
so-
musicals of all time.
Totally.
How much did Les Mis make?
Well, who knows?
Oh, fuck. Well, that's probably something I can look up.
191.7 million.
I agree that I don't think this is going to do well, but I think a lot of that's the narrative that's surrounded it since the trailers have debuted. But I can see why people would like. It's a very strong brand. theoretically.
Yeah, but like so is Les Mis, and I'm assume that it did not make.
Oh, but it made some solid coin.
Okay, sorry. Give
It
me
would
a
have
second.
been
I'll
a
look this up.
400 million. Sorry, it would have been a 100 million,
100 million.
40 or $100 million production.
Budget was 61 million,
There you go.
and
200
international or worldwide was 400 million.
Solid return.
Pretty.
But
Yeah,
this is
good for
one of like the
budget.
most famous musicals out there.
So it's Cats.
Well, exactly, and this only made 400 million.
But that's a good
You're
return
saying
off
that
It's a
660.
good return.
Well, off 60, yeah, but
Yeah.
off 300.
Yes.
If Cats makes $400 million off of a $300 million budget, that's like, I mean,
But
that's
if
a failure.
But if it makes the respective gross, it'll be the highest grossing film of all time.
Yeah, but that's not how that works. Like,
You never know.
I reckon that there will be well and truly more people that are interested in seeing Les Mis than in seeing. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Also, I reckon there's probably a lot of furries who are just keeping their mouths shut about this one and are going to turn out in force for this film.
In droves.
Because that's the thing I'm surprised at. Actually, part of it is I don't see much support for this movie because I feel like the furries must love it, right? I don't know.
We love it.
Yes, we do. George comes out on the pod.
What's another really big musical that I can I'm just so interested to see what kind of budget or what kind of return they're making.
Wicked hasn't been done yet, has it? That's crazy.
Yeah, that would probably bring in some serious coin.
It's not. It's kind of a dead genre, really. Not dead, but it used to be like the big thing.
what was the biggest
Sound of Music and Wizard of Oz and yada yada?
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if it's.
Seven Colour
I'm
Dream
so
Code.
interested in this. Give me a second.
Should we move on to the next trailer?
Yes.
Antebellum.
And so I said, give me a second.
We
Damn
gave you
you.
1 second.
We gave you approximately 1 Earth second.
Highest growing. No, I don't want Broadway's musicals.
Antebellum.
Okay, and Antebellum. Never mind.
Yeah.
Do we have any synopsis on this? Do either of you know what this movie's about?
Because it had a very trippy trailer,
Very
which
trippy
I
trailer.
do enjoy.
Yeah, clearly taking place like across time, different times. very
Two
different
distinct
times.
timelines, it seems.
Yeah.
And we seem to be sort of comparing these lives of these people in these different and
Very race focused, obviously.
we've got Jordan Peele on here as a producer. Is that correct?
Or from the producers of Get Out. I
It's
think
a,
so. I
it
don't
just
know if it
said
was
get on
specific.
that, so that
Uh-huh.
that might not be.
Yeah.
And it looked
specifically.
intriguing. It didn't give you that much meat on the bone, but it definitely teased it.
Mm.
Got a good waft of that meat. So I'm in, man. I'm
Yeah.
in. I'm not sure about the title. Is there any significance there?
I don't know what it
Antebellum?
means.
That
Let's just have a look.
refers to
Before the war,
yeah, slavery and
but wasn't widely
the South.
associated with the U.S. Civil War
I
until after
always,
the conflict was over.
Sorry. I always love a good
Movie.
like little time travel or like time loop
Love it.
kind of thing. I'm always interested in the mechanics, and this one is really interesting me about like how obviously there are timelines or times that are blending in together, and I would love and I am constantly thinking about what would happen if you either took someone from the past and just popped them into modern day society, or you took someone now and popped them back in time. Like that scenario for me is one that is endlessly interesting. And I think that there's a lot of movies that have done it really poorly, but I think the concept in and of itself is really interesting. And I would love to see like what if you took someone that was from colonial slave type times and popped them in today, what they would make of society. Like that for me is
Just put an
super
iPhone in
interesting.
somebody's hand from 1919, 100
Like
years
that's
ago.
magic right there.
what's that new Netflix one about the knight who comes to modern
Yeah,
times?
I
the
was
romantic
worried that
comedy?
you were
That's
gonna
clearly
mention
the
that.
peak of that genre,
Yeah,
I imagine.
I knew you were going to
Connor's
mention
like,
that, you
I'm in,
son of a
baby.
Or Black
bitch.
Knight or Kate and Leopold.
Yeah.
All classics of the genre.
Black Knight. What a movie. It shaped my childhood.
Before we move on from the trailers,
Yes.
can I just found what the highest grossing, or at least according to this list, the highest grossing musical is. It's Mamma Mia.
Oh, of course.
God.
That makes a lot of sense.
609 worldwide.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense. Like that was a really big film.
Huge, yeah.
Followed up by Les Mis with 400. So
Right.
the highest grossing musical is Mamma Mia with 600 million. So let's say that this makes it and tops.
Doubles the
like-
budget.
doubles
600.
it, 600. Do we
Add in 100 and 150 million in marketing, maybe 50 to 150. The rule of thumb is you double the budget to add in the marketing. So if you're using that, you're going to 600.
Yeah, but let's say
I don't think they're going to be pumping that.
Let's just 100
say
million
400
on the top end of what that would be.
That's big dollars.
That's a massive budget. And in my head, to justify a $300 million film or a $400 million film, you have to at least be making 7, 8, if not a billy.
You'd want a
I
billion.
hope I'm right on this 300 million thing.
I mean, that is well and truly into the most expensive movies ever made kind of list. But I mean,
I'm gonna double check.
It's super ambitious. It's super ambitious. It makes sense.
I'm pretty sure.
They're dealing with like new technology here.
I mean, it looks like every shot has a lot of effects.
Budget $90 million.
Really? Really? Are you serious? Nah, fuck you. Are you serious? Oh my god, that's so good.
So according to Wikipedia, budget is $90 million.
Come on,
you
mate.
Fuck.
This movie makes $600 million. So
there's a Forbes article saying no, Cats didn't cost $300 million.
Right. That's headline reading at its finest.
Yeah, you haven't. It literally said doesn't cost $300 million.
Okay.
But
so I did read an article where it said it cost $300
something
million.
about $300
and I did
million,
not click into that article, and I did not read.
You haven't just plucked that number out of nowhere. No. There's obviously some kind of.
But you have just skimmed something on Facebook and been like,
I'm not going to give them a click. Fuck those guys.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, there's also someone here that like, this is brilliant. The writer of this article is talking down to the people that believe it's 300. like he's like
us.
Look, just watching the trailer, does Cat look like a movie that cost $300 million? Moreover, does Universal resemble a studio that would spend $300 million not on Jurassic World or Fast and Furious, but on Cats? Fuck whoever this guy is. He's a fuck. Scott Mendelson. You
no, this
brilliant.
is the kind of shit I need to hear.
Yeah, he is so. I love how patronizing he's like. Fuck you for like entertaining the notion.
Now I got to write this article and get paid.
Oh man,
I love that.
I should know a thing or two, right? All right, let's cap it up with a couple questions of the week. We love hearing from you guys, so hit us up in the comments on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We will read out those questions. We got 2 for this week. First of which is one from me earlier. How much do you guys think the Rise of Skywalker is going to gross at the box office by the end of March?
End of March
2020.
What did The Last Jedi make?
Last Jedi made about 1.3.
You have full license to just lie to me and throw me off here.
And the other one was made for 300 million. And Force Awakens was about 2 billion. So are we going to do the same thing again where we go 1, 2, 3 and you say your number?
Oh.
I don't think Connor would be happy with that.
I was so unhappy with how last time happened.
I'm going to jump. I'm just going to say.
Although having said that, I don't know whether anyone has followed where we landed on that, but you and me, George, were within, I think, like 200,000 of each other.
This is for the Captain Marvel. When we were predicting the Captain Marvel box office haul.
And you just won. Like it was
baby.
really tight.
It's like that perfect, when you reverse park and you just slide straight in, you're like, that's it.
Where someone else is waiting to park there.
So what are the rules? How are we doing this? I want to know.
So end of March, we say, what's the box office of Rise of Skywalker at the end of March?
End of March. So we've got December, January, February, and March. 4 months. Four full months.
Should essentially be the whole run.
That'd be the whole run, probably.
Okay. Yeah.
And we do Price is Right rules?
No, I think just closest.
Just closest?
Whoever's closest.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I love Price is Right rules, though.
Yeah, I know, because you just go slightly higher than someone else.
I didn't mean to. I just watched a lot of
check the tape. Happening. Roll it back.
Fuck you.
Hey, I was way out of that race.
All right.
I'm going to say 1.3 then.
All right.
Oh.
I know. I'm going to say, let's say it on 3, all right? 1, 2, 3.
1.73.
Okay. We both had the same idea at that additional decimal point. Okay, so what? So 1.3.
Mm-hmm.
1.53 and 1.73. Yeah. Okay. That's very nicely distributed, boys.
Very good, yeah.
Well done.
Once again, I'll be knocked out of the race first, and then don't have to worry about it.
Might not, man. Might not.
Yeah, I don't know.
You got that little around the billion mark sewn up there.
Mm.
All right. We got one more question here from Taylor. Nicole, thanks so much for this question. A little bit of a not your usual type of question, but here we go. Would you guys be willing to have guests fans on your podcast, either for just a fan segment or the whole show, or hell, maybe like a giveaway sweepstakes kind of thing for a fan to come visit? Totally not asking for myself. Lol. Great question. And, it's something that we have been thinking and talking amongst ourselves a lot about.
And we've come up with the number, $75 an hour.
What he said. We've been talking a lot about how can we connect more with you guys out there. We really love, hearing from you with the comments, telling where we're wrong, telling us where we're right, hearing your opinions that we haven't even discussed.
Little nitpicks about how we look. All good stuff.
Oh, yeah. You're really the target of that.
I'm Pinky.
He's so self-conscious about it.
Over here.
He's like, what's wrong with Ben's Pinky?
He's fucking weird.
They just want to help.
Segregate him. No, it's actually a twin, isn't it? It's in a little entity.
That's why it's on the very edge of the frame all the way. That's why I'm sitting in the corner here.
We're trying to figure out ways to connect with you guys more. We're thinking, definitely on the cards for next year is figuring out live streaming so we can get those interactive comments on the fly going on. Also, as Taylor suggested, call-ins, on Skype and whatnot. We've got some gear that we can, wrangle together and make that happen. So, these are fun, interesting things we're looking to explore next year. So stay tuned. It's getting exciting. 2020 is going to be a big year for the Podcast Strikes Back. Had an awesome year in 2019. Thanks for everyone for listening in, subscribing, telling a friend. This is just, a fun little thing we do amongst ourselves. And it's really great to see people connecting with it and sending us questions and whatnot. So, we see the numbers. Thanks for listening, guys. So all in all, Taylor, yes to everything. Just give us a little bit of time to figure everything out so we can do this properly. Well, there we have it. Question of the week, all done. Now we're going to be moving into something that I'm really, really enjoying on the weekly show is the streaming episodes that we've been reviewing. So we're up to Watchmen episode 6. And guys, please, this is full spoilers. And I think for this episode, you really don't want to be listening in. So go watch that shit. Skip over to Mandalorian episode 3 if you've seen that. Timestamps are all in the annotations. So let's get into Watchmen episode 6. Last episode we reviewed, we talked about how she's going to go on this crazy trip.
Mm-hmm.
She dunked those pills at the end of episode 5. Well, hey, it was exactly that. What an amazing episode.
Massive change of pace.
We didn't get any of Adrian Veidt in this as well. This is a totally different vibe, totally different color scheme. And I can't tell you, man, I was in this episode. I was just enthralled.
So I think this is definitely the best shot, like from a craftsmanship point of view, simply with visuals. Best of the series, if not one of the best shot TV episodes ever. It's got to be up there.
Completely agree.
I
feel just this cascading effect.
This constant kind of
swirling,
moving around and like
swapping out actors.
Just made everything felt very fluid. And there was something that they did that I thought was unbelievably spectacular, which was the color. And it mostly takes in form not just in the fact that obviously as she descends into the memories that everything goes black and white, but also when she's being pulled into reality, there is very subtle color changes, and not even just an overall color change, but there'll just be like a blotch
Just bleeds in areas.
that bleeds in very kind of, again, very fluidly, and only for a moment. And it gives this sense of being pulled back into reality, which is exactly what it is. So,
And last week, which I don't think we actually mentioned, the girl in the bar that Looking Glass was talking to was mentioning this little bit of alternate history where Spielberg, instead of making Schindler's List, made a movie about the squid attack. And she mentioned how it was in black and white, except for the little girl in red. Like red was the only color in the movie, just like Schindler's List, of course. And that was kind of what they did in this episode by showing a lot of red in important moments and flashbacks within the flashback and stuff.
yeah, this is an episode. I mean, I've kind of felt this inclination with all of the episodes, but none more so than this, which is that I have a really big desire to go back and watch it again. And I haven't done a repeat viewing of any of the episodes, but I have a feeling that I will for this.
I'm exactly
because
the
there is
same.
so much just packed in, and there's a lot of answers, right? The other episodes are all about asking questions, and as soon as you answer some questions, make sure that opens more doors or something like that, and it just, you kind of feel like thrown around in this cascade or this surf, whereas this one feels like it's dropping bomb after bomb after bomb.
It's just where the end of the 2/3 mark of the series, and it's just sewing a lot of stuff together. It confirmed, first of all, and mostly what a lot of people had been thinking, that Will Reeves is Hooded Justice.
So did people gather that from the fact that he had the noose with him? Is that where people were drawing that from, or was there something else that kind of...
There were a few hints to it for people who'd kind of read the comic as well, and little
But I
bits
thought
and
that
pieces.
was
I've
like
definitely
the
brought
big
it
mystery.
up on the show. But yeah, just even stuff within the show, the fact that we're seeing this show within a show, American Hero Story, and within the universe, people are saying that that's very unreliable, like it's just full of falsities. And I feel like there was that episode we saw, or that scene that we saw, that so clearly identified Hooded Justice as a white man, and it's like, well, what's the veracity of that, because if you know something's going to be misleading, then you got to take any facts at face value. And yeah, of course, in the first episode, he had the noose. And George, we were talking about this reveal earlier today. So they've taken a character, a very mysterious, barely there character from the original comic, Hooded Justice, and given him a whole backstory that never existed before, nor was even hinted at. There were rumors about him in the comic that went in completely different directions. So, the original Night Owl thought he was a German strongman. So this is a complete retcon, really, but not in a bad way at all, because we were saying it feels so natural to the character and to the characters within the show that it's hard to believe it wasn't planned from the very beginning of the comic.
And that's something that I was really interested in, because I'm always thinking about this as someone that has never read the comics. It makes a little bit of sense, or it makes perfect sense, and it's not like retconning anything in terms of this series. But I was really interested to hear, like, are the fans of the comic book going to feel as though this is intruding on territory that is already laid down? Hooded Justice features for about 20 seconds in the movie, and
There's not much more of him in the
but I mean, like,
comic.
everything that has progressed in this series so far has taken place or has affected things after the comic book or after the movie, and this is something that's actually going back and directly affecting the Minutemen or making claims about the Minutemen. So I don't know about what's the other character, the blonde
Metropolis.
Metropolis. Was he heavily featured within the comics, or is he a completely new character?
No, he's in there more than Hooded Justice, right?
Yeah, he's in there, but
So does that
it's
kind
just,
of-
it's light.
It's more about the ensemble.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
not a lot of
not a
inside
lot of
character dynamics. You
details.
get a lot of Silk Spectre and Comedian, but beyond that, not too much.
Because I wonder, like, because this actually paints the original Minutemen as somewhat racist or not good people necessarily.
But picking and choosing on their own value system what kind of tasks they're going to put the Force on.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and I think that leads on from the comic, which generally hints quite strongly towards them all being very damaged people and not perfect people. Like, well, just being very human beyond their superhero personas.
Yeah.
But just going off the Hooded Justice origin story, we got something in Solo last year that really rubbed me the wrong way, which was, Han, you by yourself, Solo.
Yeah.
That's a horrible way to sort of retcon a name. And I feel like it's so hard to really identify exactly what did it so successfully, but it was in the character. It was in the journey of the character. When you're on that, when he gets cut down from the noose and he gets cut down, he's walking back and he's just completely damaged from that experience of those racist cops. He has this heroic moment and, without all that preamble, without all that character dynamics and story at the front end of the episode, that kind of retcon doesn't work.
If the episode had only shown him getting strung up and then from there he becomes a superhero, you'd kind of felt like that was a bit of a cheap.
Maybe not as effective.
Yeah. Which kind of leads me on to another thing, which is that there's a scene in this that some have called controversial. I just thought it was effective, which was that scene of him getting lynched, particularly
intense.
by the fact that it was shown from his point of view, which I thought was
Unsettling.
super unsettling and gave you an.
It's like, this is what it's like when you die.
Yeah, no, like I didn't want to go so far as to say like, oh, I understand what it would be like to be lynched.
Understand, but it's like,
but it's kind of drawing out that emotion, that kind of fear, and that the loss of vision and the panic and the breathing, and you just kind of think, what an effective way to show that scene, because I don't think it would have been as impactful if you watched it from that third eye. It's just it wouldn't have had that level of holy fuck.
There's also such complexity to it. For something that is dealing with race, I feel like there's often, a temptation to be very, black and white about it, where, these racist white guys are villains and this guy's a hero. And sure enough, they absolutely are villains. But the character of Will himself, I feel, is so complicated because he's this superhero figure, but he's also in the street just murdering people. Like, he's a cop who's just murdering folks.
Yeah.
For the greater good or whatever. But it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle his character going forward, because it's just based on this episode alone, it's so hard to know what his motivations are in this big plan that like him and Lady True are enacting.
Yeah.
Like, is it going to be something actually benevolent, or is it something like
malicious,
hideous, like what Ozymandias did in the original comic, for the greater good? I just love how deep it all is.
Yeah. Which kind of brings me on to the scene where you finally see how he got the police chief to kill himself. Very interesting. Kind of all brought it together. But it also made me... I don't know if I felt as though he was more righteous after that scene. It felt as though...
Will Reeves?
Yeah. Like I was... The way that the police chief was talking made me feel as though there was more to that character than perhaps Will Reeves was allowing to be explained. Like, I wasn't sure whether he knows something the audience doesn't know, whether the police chief captain knows something that... Like, it kind of made me very unsettled with what happened. And it didn't kind of spoon feed you with police captain bad, Will Reeves good, and he's doing the right thing. Like, it didn't make me feel as though, okay, yeah, I understand. Like, this is a good thing to have him hang himself.
Which is what this whole series has been doing.
Yeah.
With, the hick racist white dudes having their rights taken away by the fascistic cops who are the characters we're following, but are they heroes? Like,
Yeah.
it's all over the place in an awesome way.
There's a really, really fantastic scene in here that does quite a lot of legwork in the emotional arc, where you have the wife and the child interacting over many years, and Hooded Justice character in the seat applying the makeup to his face. And, very quickly after that, the marriage divorce, or no, not the marriage divorce, but the separation comes in, and that confrontation with the wife. And at one stage I was almost like, wow, that seemed really fast. But then I reminded myself, hey, that elegant, beautiful scene, visual storytelling at its finest, that sets it all up.
Yeah.
And I
Time has gone
love
by.
that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I praise this show for going down that path.
Interesting.
And how the kids, he's like applying the makeup and he rips it from him, and this
It's like
very,
panically trying to get it off him.
very, very complex character.
Adding to that complexity is that level of they're pulling on the thread of him being homosexual as well, and
Or bisexual, yeah.
That was my question, right? Like, were you meant to feel sympathy for this character? Were you meant to feel... Because at the end of the day, he's cheating on his wife, which is, I think we would all agree, a bad thing. But then I'm trying to figure out whether the show is saying, well, he couldn't be his true self, or, like it was just very
so many
ambiguous
factors to it.
Yeah, and so it didn't really give you and as we said, it has been unrelenting in its, here is something that's happened. We're not going to give you this is morally righteous, or good or bad, or like they're just not giving you that out. They're like, here's a situation. There are both bad and good things about the people that are doing this, about the outcomes that they are trying to achieve, the methods that you're using, and maybe we'll wrap it all up in a nice bow at the end, or maybe we'll just kind of let you decide for yourself. But either way, I fucking love this.
It's like that terrifying thing in school when you ask a teacher, like, what something means, and they're like, what do you think it meant? It's like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, no. Making me actually critically think about stuff. No! But like that's what this show is, I feel, is not giving me or the audience any outs, which is...
But it's adding and explaining why characters are the way they are, which maybe not fully explaining it, and maybe it's drip feeding you throughout the episodes. But for example, my take on this character is completely different to if I rewatch this series from episode 1. I'm going to watch this completely differently, particularly this character, who I kind of considered a bad guy up until this stage. Or I was not very sure.
Do you think he's a good guy now?
I don't necessarily he's a good guy, but I understand why he is the way he is to a certain degree. And I think that makes me see the humanity and the gray area in
So
the
if
decisions.
when it's all said and done, he is, quote unquote villain, then he'll be a great one because you'll understand
exactly
what he's doing. Yeah.
Or if he's a hero, he'll be a great one as well. Because there is complexity and yeah. I think I love storytelling that's in the gray. Because you always feel a bit kind of patronized when a movie tells you this is what I'm trying to tell you. Like this is I have a moral, or I have a something that I'm trying to teach you, and you're like, okay, I get it. Like, all right,
this is a far cry from Green Book.
Yeah, exactly right. This is a far more complex and thought-provoking,
nuanced
thing. Again, not to say that that's necessarily terrible. Like that type of movie has its place, like Green Book or any of the other films that come out with like a thesis behind them. But this one, I think, is just a really good exploration of the gray matter. Yeah.
Where's the episode end? Did it have a cliffhanger? Lady True.
Yeah.
She wakes up
True
in Lady True's
in the bed
room or something. Yeah.
So we're into the last 3 episodes.
The end game.
I thought this episode, I wonder if it's my favorite, but I remember saying to myself immediately when it finished, saying, this show, man, this is one of my favorite shows I've ever watched. This is so good. Like, I really hope these last 3 are great, because if this gets squandered, I'm gonna be a husk of a man.
Well, that's a real challenge, right? Like,
I have faith in though
At
because
the
they're
end of the
going
day-
down so many different presentation aspects. Each episode is quite unique from the other. I think I have good faith that they're going to stick the landing.
I'm so not worried, but I think part of that might just be that if the ending really does suck balls, that's going to be a huge shame. But there's going to be so much great about the series anyway. So
I almost feel that makes if the ending is bad, that makes it so much worse. That the build up to it was so good.
It can.
I can definitely understand that, but as an avid Lost fan, I understand what it's like to love a lot of something, but not all of it, and I'm at peace with that. and also, just more broadly, I think I just really do have. I don't know. I don't have any doubt that they're going to keep making this as great as it is. Like 6 for 6.
It
in my
almost
books.
has to be, yeah.
6 from 6.
Yeah.
100%. All right, let's move on to Mandalorian episode 3. Guys, if you haven't seen this, get out of here. But if you're staying this far into the episode, you've probably seen it. So, hey,
This is the way.
this is the best episode of Mandalorian
Oh,
so far.
Yep.
Deborah Chow, director, has done an outstanding job, and she's going to be directing all 6 episodes of the Obi-Wan series. Thumbs up from me.
nice.
Double thumbs up.
I probably like this the least, only because it's not even the show's fault.
You said the plot. You knew exactly what was going to happen.
No, I'm not into the idea of Mandalorians being like a race and a religion. It's so silly to me that like there's just a planet of Boba Fett's. Like it's so ridiculous.
Why? But
And I don't know. I don't know why that's only cropping up now, but I think it's because they're all in this, and it's just a bunch of Boba Fett's, and they're all being all Boba Fetty to each other, and this is the way. I just find it very silly, like the whole idea of Mandalore.
I'm loving that.
And I liked the.
But how is that any different to any other given,
Any other given
Camino?
Because it's so clearly like they've taken a character and made a whole planet of him because he was such a fan favorite. I like the episodes, the previous ones where he was alone, and I like this episode still. I just find that concept, it just doesn't. I'm not into it because
I feel
Boba
like
Fett
that
much.
concept was laid out pretty heavily in the first episode.
But you only saw one of them for one scene, whereas this one has like a whole bunch of their little ragtag team of
But
Boba
he did
Fett's.
walk down, and you saw the Boba Fett sort of.
No,
standing
totally.
around.
And again, I'm saying I still like it. I just really find that to be a silly
Well,
idea.
Justify yourself.
Yeah.
I actually quite like that they've made this into. I think it is Mando like a religion / sect.
It's
Mandalore is a planet, and Mandalorians are its people.
the race,
And
yeah.
they all.
And it's very
look like
heavily
Boba
covered
Fett.
in the Clone Wars TV series. So I've seen a few of those episodes. So
So are all Mandalorians like? Do they all have helmets on?
pretty much,
Is that
yeah, I
the
think
concept?
Mm.
Huh.
so. Not 100% across it.
It's like everyone they go home to their mantle, and there's a little picture with like a mummy Mandalorian and a baby Mandalorian with
Oh,
their
helmets.
helmets.
Perfect.
Have you ever taken your helmet off? No. How do you eat? I don't know.
Except we've seen him with that. So this doesn't make sense because in his flashbacks, he doesn't have a helmet on, and neither do his parents.
So he's obviously He's not. He's
my
adopted
theory has always been
Mandalorian.
he's not a Mandalorian,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
My thought was that Mandalorians were all a race, but like
You
the
can become a
religion,
Mandalorian.
yeah, like a Mandalorian is actually like the sect, like the
you get a
just-
Mandalorian girlfriend, you got to convert to please the father.
yeah.
Picturing a Mandalorian opening the door, he's got like his slippers and a
Yeah.
robe on with a helmet.
But that's it. Like my
A
thought was
cigar
that
in a hole.
there's because they kind of insinuated that you had to choose this life. So in this episode, I thought that they made it.
And
out
that's
to be
what the
that-
tease is about this. I'm loving this Mandalorian culture being expanded upon. Like, I'm really keen I hope there's several seasons of this show that we get more and more about that. Because I'm enjoying... Yeah, and that was Jon Favreau in the suit, who was pissed off with the
angry one.
Mandalorian. Yeah, the angry Mandalorian who was confronting him. That was Jon Favreau. I thought
He's gotten back into shape.
He's looking
That's
good.
what the armor does, baby.
Yeah.
This is the way. So I loved all that stuff. I love the expansion of the flashback, going back to when he was a child, and you got more of that scene unfolding with the separatist droids in there. So that's obviously explaining more about that.
I was like this happens every time he goes into that. Like, doesn't he wait in the other room when they're banging it out? Like every time, it's like,
this is the way.
Mando.
What was interesting in the direction of this episode was they fly down to the same sort of village, town where the first episode took place, and this was the first time in this show, I believe, from memory, that we focused on not the Mandalorian, but we focused on little baby Yoda and his experience in his little floating cot, looking around, looking at the stormtroopers, looking at this, observing the world. And I think I just really loved that scene. It added variety.
Wait, I think I'm a bit lost. What do you mean by it was the first time we were seeing?
So it was the first time where you were focusing, like, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe there was something else, but I can't remember in any of the previous episodes, all 2 of them, us not being like the audience surrogate through the Mandalorian. Like the Mandalorian was the conduit for the audience to experience this. And then in the second, in this episode, we definitely focused on Baby Yoda there and ratcheting up the tension nicely. Adding, it just seemed to really work for that scene, and it stood out to me in a certain way.
I get what you're saying. Like, I understand. Like, this is the first time that you saw the Baby Yoda uncomfortable, and interacting in the world with something other than this kind of cute awe. Because I think he was quite interactive in the second episode. You know, particularly when he's looking at the Jawas and he's, you know, kind of, you know, he seems more interested. Whereas this one, he seems genuinely distressed.
Yeah.
And there's kind of like an understanding of that I'm not in a good place here. So I get what you...
Rewatch that scene because it's the camera angles and the focus on him and the way it's conveyed. You're very much in his... It doesn't go back to the Mandalorian. Like, he's looking up at the Mandalorian for sort of almost like, is everything cool? You know, so I thought that was interesting and okay. I liked that, and it was elegantly and subtly done.
Yeah.
I hate to be so basic as to echo the entire internet right now, but I love Baby Yoda.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's the best thing. I can't believe they hadn't done this, merchandised the fuck out of that in advance more than they have.
Well, Jon Favreau said that because they didn't want the toy leak.
Of course, yeah, which would have inevitably happened. It'd be a Lego thing, always happens. But this thing would make him $1 billion alone with Christmas right around the corner.
Oh, I think Jon Favreau gets 1% or something, man.
They're merchandising in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I've already seen so much stuff on Facebook that I think is very bootleg. It does not look official at all, but they're very clearly trying to capitalize on it already.
Get those 3D printers out.
God, he's adorable.
Yeah.
And when he's getting, you know, they go into the back into the sort of the post-imperial base bunker, whatever, and he goes off in his little cot with the scientists, and I was like, oh no, maybe.
Yeah. I love that they are using as much puppetry as they can. You know,
so good.
It really works, I think, very well with the overall aesthetic of the character.
And I'm loving, I think Pedro Pascal is doing such a great job, and the script is really giving him a lot of tools to, there's just little subtle moments. There's the interaction with, is it Carl Weathers? Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers? Weathers.
Weathers
in the, I love it, Weathers original. Carl Weathers in the bar, and they have this little interaction, and the Mandalorian turns around and he says, what are they going to do with the kid? And it's just these little moments where you're like, I'm getting an insight into this guy, and this character could be so boring and lame. I just think they're adding some good dynamics to him.
They're writing the line really well because it's not holding your hand in explaining his motivations or what he's thinking, and you know, you can't see his face at any point, but I feel like you get it all really well.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what part of the thing I didn't love about this episode, which I did like, is that I really like him as this, you know, lone gunman man with no name character, and then bringing him into this group of just a bunch of other hymns. I'm like, I'm not so interested in that. And they're all.
I think he's out on his own.
They've got their good. That's why, I hope it stays that way, because I don't like them all having their little catchphrase back and forth. And that thing where there was like only one of us can be above ground at any time. I'm like,
I didn't.
Don't care for that so much. And then they
I like the idea that they've had to live in a world where they've essentially been outlawed. And it does.
I just want him to be a bounty hunter. Like I don't care. Like I don't care if they never explain why he's just Boba Fett by a different name. It's whatever. It's fine.
Loved the action sequences in this. Thought it was like very grounded. But the one thing at this episode that struck me was it was like that moment when all the Mandalorians come at the end. That felt so Marvel to me. Like that, I was like, wow,
People flying around.
this really feels like an MCU thing.
Oh, I didn't like at the end where Iron Man's past the ship and he's like, "Hello."
Yeah, Iron Man,
was
that
not
was
great.
MCU to the max.
But yeah, I felt like there's something visually about them flying around that just doesn't gel well with me. And I was kind of willing to give that a pass.
I don't think we're going to see a lot of it, to be perfectly
I hope we
honest.
don't.
He's going to get a jetpack at some stage. That's
I hope he doesn't.
I gotta get me one of
very much
those.
teased.
I hope he doesn't. I really like the kind of on the ground, very visceral style that he has.
Real, physical.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally grounded.
I love his use of that grappling hook thing because he's used it a couple of times and it's been like really. I'm like, fuck.
I tell you, people can't shoot for shit in Star Wars. Eh?
Of course not.
Honestly.
I'm playing Jedi Fallen Order right now, and I can confirm that is the case.
And he just gets the flamethrower out, and there's like 40 dudes around him, some like 40 meters away up on a rooftop. And hey, the flames, they repelled everyone.
I thought it was intense that he just roasted a stormtrooper.
Yeah,
Like
that
just
was
fucking
cool.
like proper roasted one. I was
Yeah.
like, huh.
I was like, wow, that armor is so just non-conducive to anything. It might as well be paper.
They got a
It
lot.
can't take a
Oh my
blaster
god, it's
shot.
flammable.
It can't take flame.
They got a lot of troopers to outfit. All right, they're stretching their resources very thin.
It's
Yeah.
been 5 years since we had
Is
an
this
upgrade.
paper
all right?
mache? Oh, shut up. It's fine.
Go, go,
What are
go.
the chances
What
that
does it
someone's
do
gonna, like,
other than
throw
make you sweaty?
I've heard fan theories that every stormtrooper goes down after one shot, and that's like a defense mechanism, like the suit shuts them down or something, so they don't get killed.
Oh,
And it doesn't make any sense, but that's just
Wow.
what I've heard because
the
they
Reddit
go down
theories,
so
man.
easy.
The Reddit
That is
theories
someone-
continue.
trying very desperately to like
Oh god.
Justify these guys.
the only what was it? The only real theory that I heard, I'm gonna get this wrong though, that ever made any sense for why they are so useless at shooting was that they intentionally were missing, like in the original trilogy, that they were intentionally missing because they knew that they needed them alive to fulfill the Emperor's plan. So they
That
always
doesn't
like
apply for the prequels or
pew. No, it
Yeah.
doesn't. Yeah, it really doesn't help anyone for that. But like,
any other final thoughts? Well, the only thing I wanted to bring up was the scientist's reaction where he was kind of like, I wanted to save him.
it's very interesting.
Where do you think this is going? That cloning Yoda,
well, it's-
midichlorians.
I was so waiting for them to say his midichlorian count is off the charts. I would have been so proud of them if they just fucking did
As
that.
if
They
there
like
wasn't a take.
lent into it.
Sorry.
Bring it on. Bring
Yeah.
on midichlorians, baby.
But whatever, it's fine. They didn't do it.
Yeah. One last thing that I want to mention. I'm not sure if we really talked about this very much, but Alan Horn was quoted as saying if this does well, which it seems to be doing, that they will be looking at a Mandalorian film. Off the back of this, do you
No.
want to see a film
No.
with the Mandalorian
Please
starring?
no. Please
No.
no. Like we've already gone down this path, Alan.
I'm 100% with you two. I don't want this to
This is
happen as a
working
film.
so well. We're 3 episodes in, and I can't tell you it's thumbs up all around for me. Evidently, it's the most streamed TV show of 2019, taking over Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw that.
This is the way to do it, man.
This is the way.
It's weird how they would look at this and be like, this was really successful in this format. Let's change the format.
Get 5 seasons out of this shit and ride off into the sunset.
And then make a Boba Fett movie.
Fuck you.
Don't do that. Do not do that.
Make a Jango Fett movie, all right?
Oh my God, yes.
Oh my God, yes.
Once we're bounty hunters.
Any final thoughts?
Bring on the next one.
Bring on the next one.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We'll be there for it, guys. And thanks for tuning in. Let us know your thoughts on Mandalorian Episode 3. And we'll be back next week. More movie fun. I've been George.
Well, see you, George.
What are you going to say?
He's been George.
He's been George.
Thanks, guys.
Who knows what
way.
he'll be tomorrow?
George.